and definitely we have a no crank, no start. I wanted to be sure that I didn't have anything else going on.
I don't know if you've seen on our C test, you go right to the beginning, right before that inrush current.
What's this thing?
That's 6.
Okay.
RS6.
All right. The point is that, hey, what's up, y'all? Que hola? Welcome to Disciple Diagnostics. Today we have a 2009 Volkswagen GTi with no crank, no start. And let me show you all what we got here, because this one's gonna be interesting. So the customer states that they installed a new battery, as y'all can see, but the vehicle still wouldn't start. So let's confirm that. And definitely we have a no crank, no start. So in a situation like this, even though the lights on the instrument cluster are not flickering, I like to go over here and turn the interior lights and see if they stay bright, because that will tell me if they kind of will give me an idea of the condition of the battery, and if we're missing power or ground. So I'm cranking again, and as you all can see, they stay bright. So I don't think that the battery is bad or that we're missing power. I think we have something else going on. So let's check. The other thing I like to check if we have a signal from the brake pedal. In this case, in this vehicle, it's nice that you see this indicator. Every time I press on the brakes, the indicator will go off. So that confirms that the brake switch is fine, the brake pedal switch. So the other thing we can check is basically we can attempt to start the car on neutral and see if the range switch is operating properly. As you can see, the cluster at least is showing every time we change, we switch gears. We can see that on the cluster. So let's go to the next check. The other thing I like to do is check the immobilizer operation, because we could have a key issue. Well, in this case, I don't know if y'all can hear it. It's responding, and really important, we don't have, well, at least I don't see any indicator of from the immobilizer, any immobilizer light staying on. I'm not really familiar with this vehicle, so I'm not sure if I should see one. But anyway, at least we know that it's responding. So now what I'm about to check is the main ground. I have my test light connected to battery positive, and then I'm using this jumper that I have connected to the engine. So as you all can see, it's pretty bright, indicating that most likely we have a good ground. So let's crank it just to be sure that we don't have a drop when cranking. So let's see if that's the case. I'm gonna go ahead and crank, and as you all can see, it stays pretty bright, indicating that with our main ground has to be good. So let's move to our next test. So since our main feeds look good, I wanted to check the overall condition of the vehicle. So I hook up the scanner because even though this most likely looks like a started issue, I wanted to be sure that I didn't have anything else going on. So I performed a full scan, and on engine I got an ABS code. I also got on brake electronics speed sensor codes, tuner codes. You can see also driver unit looking driver side. That's related to the driver's door. Power steering, angle sensor code, radio code. So none of these will cause no crank, no start. So, well, at least we have now information and a pre-scan to show to the customer. So I moved to my next test. So I took a look at the wiring diagram, and I was going to test the feed from the relay to the starter. I wanted to check that circuit, but I ended up figuring that this starter is actually pretty easy to access, as you all can see. And look at how it connected already. I'm connecting to the main B plus terminal, and as y'all can see, it's pretty bright. But again, let's check if and confirm that it will stay that way even when cranking. So let's do that. Let's crank and staying bright. Let me move it so you all can see better. Oh. So let's crank. As you all can see, it's staying. There's no drops at all. So that confirms that the main feed to the starter motor is good. So now let's check the solenoid. So I'm now back probing the started solenoid connector, and before I connect my test light lead to ground, I'm going to connect it to power because the circuit is off, and this will confirm if we have a good connection. And as you can see, it's turning on. So now let's connect it to ground and actually turn the circuit on and see if it lights up. So I'm gonna turn it on now. I'm gonna crank it, but I'm gonna leave my phone over here so you all can watch. So I'm gonna go ahead now and crank. As you all watch, it did turn it on. So we know the main feed to the started motor is good. We know that the feed to the solenoid is also good because when we crank, it will light up. But now I guess the last variable will be, well, what if the engine is seized and the starter is not able to actually turn the engine? So I guess my last test will be to grab a wrench and attempt to turn the engine manually. All right, guys, so I was planning of turning the engine over. I was planning of, reaching the crank bolt, which is kind of hard to reach, and turn the engine over just to be sure that we don't have something else going on. But I was talking to Mario.
Hey.
You all know him. We're Mario Diagnostics.
How's it going?
And he came up with a pretty good idea, something I missed, and I believe it's a great and a more efficient way of testing. I'm gonna let him explain you guys.
So basically, our tech Esteban, he came up and said, hey, I want to check to make sure that this engine isn't seized. And I said, hey, there's an easier way. Do you have an amp clamp with a min-max feature? And he said, I got an amp clamp, but it doesn't have the min-max feature. So I'm like, all right, we'll both go out there and check it out. We're out here in the parking lot, and we're just doing a quick test just to make sure this thing's not seized. And he's got this setup already. He's got a grounded test light, and he's got the amp clamp around the negative cable of the battery, so that we're checking the entire vehicle. And the idea is that if the engine was seized, we would expect to see the amp clamp at least 500 amps as long as he's holding that crank position. And if not, well, then we would expect to see a solenoid current draw, so it's usually around 20 amps. If you look at the I don't know if you've seen on our C test, you go right to the beginning, right before that inrush current. There's like a little notch way down in there. It's about 20 amps. You have to zoom in though for that one a lot. But anyway, we're gonna go ahead and do this test, and he's gonna crank the vehicle, and if the engine is seized, as long as he's holding that key, we expect to see at least 500 amps. The starter is pushing against a seized engine, so he's gonna jump into the driver's seat and do this test real quick. Yeah, and he's got 40 amps. We've got the red command to the solenoid, and there's no engine movement, and we can pretty much rule out that the starter is, in this case, good, but it's turning against a seized engine. At this point, the starter is no good. We've got no actuation, we got no heavy amperage. That contactor is not really closing all the way, and there is a 1 in a million chance, right, that the engine may be seized and the starter is bad as well. But that is literally a 1 in a million odds right there. If you want to play it safe, you want to lift the vehicle, you can go ahead and do that. Take it up, put it on the lift, remove that belly pan, get your triple square into that crank bolt and try to turn the engine, or we could just go ahead and use our hands to turn it, and you won't be able to see it on camera, but it does turn. These are very small engines. It is not a lot of effort. So that is the test, and the idea is that, well, you know, we could see that how convenient it is, right? But there are some cases where you're not going to be able to get to that crank bolt easily. Like some Mercedes, they have an intercooler right in front of it. The N63 is not that easy either. There's certain European vehicles that you're just not going to get to the crank bolt that easily, and it will take much more effort to do than in our case here. So the idea is to get that test under your belt and have it there in case where, you know, it's highly inconvenient to do so. You can just whip out the amp clamp and at least get an answer as to whether the engine is seized or not. If you must turn it manually, you know, some insurance companies, you know, all that good stuff, they want that. But for the most part, I think it's going to be very rare to see a starter fail and the engine seized at the same time. There's some cases where some people, they try to start it so many times they kill both. They kill the starter, but in that case, I think we would see with the hand movement, we would not be able to turn that engine at all in this case. But I think for most, 99% of all situations, this test will save us a lot of time.
So yeah, that test, it will definitely save us a lot of time. You saved me a lot of time, brother.
No problem, I think.
So thank you guys for watching. Hope you liked the video, and see you all in the next one.
Take care.
All right, guys, before going, I wanted to show you something. So basically, we got here Audi, what's this thing?
S6.
Okay.
RS6.
All right. The point is that I wanted to show you like that the test we just performed it will be like a great test for a situation like this. Like on this vehicle, like as you all can see, there's almost no way you can access the crank bolt. That would be definitely a mission to be able to access the crank bolt and confirm if the engine is seized or whatnot. But yeah, something to think about.
Yeah, you would have to put it in service mode, right? There's service mode. A lot of people know this for like the Euro world. You have to get everything out. Even underneath, it's so tight in here. It's not even funny. I wish I could show it, but like it's not worth the trouble. You would have to put this thing in service mode just to gain access to the crank bolt only.
Yeah, which is definitely crazy. So something to think about. Try to keep that testing technique in your toolbox, so when you can encounter something like this, you know how to knock it out as most efficient as possible. So now you know. See you guys.